It was good, y'all. It's your boy JD6 here. I'm with my man. Shout out to KC Sports Authority. Make sure y'all go check that podcast out, man.
You heard the man. And welcome into the KC Sports Authority podcast. If you're new here, if this is the first time you've stumbled across us, first off, thank you so much for taking the time to check us out today. Hope you enjoyed this episode. But you might want to go ahead and hit that subscribe button right there on the screen, because I have a good feeling if you're a Jayhawk fan, Chiefs fan, Royals fan, you're going to like the rest of our episodes. So go ahead and do us a favor, hit that subscribe button so you can come back and tune into future episodes we do, because there's still a lot of great content to be had that we are going to be getting into here real soon. You can also find us on the podcast over on Spotify if you want to listen to us there. If you want to hit us up on any of our social medias, you can do so on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at KCSA Pod. All right, Keegan Russell and Spencer Gray here with you. Spencer, it's a week of good college basketball. KU had the UConn game last week. Big win. I know we didn't have time to completely break that game down, but KU, played very good at home, kept it a very competitive atmosphere. People are saying that it might have been the most electric the Fieldhouse has been in years. I was not at the game, so I didn't get to experience it, but I'm sure it was up there. Any quick takeaways from that game?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of takeaways. I mean, I think it shows that we can win tough games. We can win competitive games. I mean, that's the third, top 15 team that we've won against this early in the season. So I think there's a lot to be excited about, especially after watching that game.
Yeah, and the way KU kind of closed it out, Hunter Dickinson hit some big shots. Kevin McCullough obviously hit the big three. El Marco got a nice little strip there to make up for a transition turnover that he had. All around impressive game. Great showing for college basketball. I've said it on multiple episodes. I love the fact that we have these big time matchups early in the season that are these non-con games. KU's now faced four of the top 15 teams in the country now, depending on where Kentucky finishes up. So they've been quite impressive. Didn't really rebound very well against Eastern Illinois, UMKC this week. Kept that game way too close. But they've done that 2 weeks in a row now where they've had a lesser opponent sandwiched between two monster games. So it's kind of hard to get up for. But this episode, what we want to get into, guys, this is the Border War, the 2023 edition of Mizzou versus Kansas here in the Fieldhouse. Also, we got the extra bonus of the Thomas Robinson jersey retirement, which is going to be super exciting. It's long overdue. Obviously very intentional that it's this game. So that's what we want to get into today. I'd say, Spencer, let's start with Thomas Robinson, a KU legend for many reasons. I think everybody, KU fan, Mizzou fan, is obviously going to remember this right here. The block at home against Mizzou in the final game of their Big 12 time against Kansas. Massive block. I'm sure the decibel level jumped to the loudest it's probably ever been in the city of Lawrence at that moment. That was insane. Thomas Robinson getting his jersey retired. This has been going on for a couple years now. The first time it was supposed to be the last time Mizzou came, and when the rivalry was renewed, because why not? That'd be the best time for it. He was playing overseas and didn't have time for it. So this year they're making it happen just to further rub it into Missouri's face. They're going to have to be reminded all day, all week long of the T-Rob block. I know nobody in that program there was around when that happened. But man, this is exciting. T-Rob is probably he's long overdue. His junior season was incredible. He was a player of the year candidate. Had it not been for Anthony Davis and the freak season he had, T-Rob probably wins it. But how exciting is it that T-Rob gets to come in, have his jersey retired, and just sit there and slam Mizzou all day while they have to watch that jersey go up?
I think it's super excited, and I'll add another adjective to his block: his clean block. No contact, no foul. His clean block. I want to make sure that's known. But I think it's super cool because he's still pretty plugged in to the program, to the university. I read that after, KJ's mom passed, D-Rob was one of the first people to reach out to Coach Self and ask, how can I help? Can I, do anything? So I thought that was really cool to hear that. But yeah, I mean, he was one of the most dominant players we've ever had. If it wasn't for the death sentence of the Kings in the NBA, I think he would have had a better career in there. But it's, happy to see that he's still finding places to play here, even overseas. So I think it's super exciting. Again, being against Missouri makes it even better, and I'm sure that was on purpose. So I'm excited to see the overdue number 0 jersey going up in the rafters.
Yeah, for sure. He deserves to be up there. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. Getting the chance to, we're going to see that video on repeat over and over and over and over, and it's not going to get old. I think my favorite moment though of that game, not just the T-Rob block, but after we win it, the Bill Selfie turns around, and throws his fists up, all pumped up. That's probably some of the most exciting moments Bill Self's probably had at his time on camera here at KU. But yeah, it's going to be super fun. Want to just talk a little bit about T-Rob's career. I love what you mentioned there. One of the first guys to call coach and see if he can shed some light to KJ on how to go through that situation. So I'm sure that's going to be huge for him this weekend, spending some time with him and just kind of learning how to navigate through that, because that's a very tough thing for a college kid to go through. T-Rob statistically, though, he got here in 2009, 2010, was a pretty decently high-rated recruit, but he had a log jam in front of him of Jeff Withey and the Morris twins. So minutes were going to be hard to come by his freshman season. He still played in pretty much all the games, 33 games, scored 83 points total that year, 18 blocks, 7 steals. Actually got quite a bit of free throw attempts for not playing a whole lot of minutes. But we knew that first year it was going to be hard for him to really do a whole lot. So his second year comes in, his minutes double. He's still got, a little bit of logjam at the forward spot, but starts, picking things up a little bit more. But really it was that junior season that he took off. And even though the points, I was intrigued by his point totals. He had a really, really good season, but didn't quite score as many points as you probably would have thought. He only scored 692, but that junior season, he was basically averaging a double-double all year, playing next to Jeff Withey, which at that point in college basketball, it was starting to become a little weird to have two postmen next to each other that were that different play style. Withey could slowly kind of step out and pop, but Thomas Robinson was your back to the basket punisher, 4 guy. So junior year was really good. A lot of highlights. Obviously, he had, multiple games with 20 rebounds. He had the big time performance against Missouri, player of the year candidate, Big 12 player of the year, first team All-American, just all around tremendous season. I think when I look back the last 20 years, I think T-Rob's season as a whole has got to be top 5 as far as most impressive. He just dominated that year. There were just so many games where nothing worked. You just, all right, throw the ball down to T-Rob, let him do what he does and go up with it. And I think he did that tremendously. Where do you think he ranks for you as far as all-time Jayhawks?
Well, he's certainly top 10, and it's hard to crack that because we've had so many incredible players, and we keep having so many incredible players. But I mean, kind of like you said, he was just so dominant both ends of the floor. It's very versatile, played with a really high motor. It's not a lot that you get, talented players like him that have the energy that he has. So he's definitely up there. And his junior season, like you said, if it wasn't for, Anthony Davis's freak college season, I definitely think he would have been player of the year that year. So he's definitely, he's definitely in that top 10 for me, especially just because of his impact. And, that was the year that we went all the way to the national title game. So, and I think he was obviously a big part of that.
Yeah, it's just a bummer that it had to be Kentucky there at the end, because as soon as everybody knew Kentucky was the best team that year. They hands down, top to bottom, they were the best team. But once we got that national championship matchup, I just kept thinking, I was like, man, this is a not favorable matchup as far as us against him. Terrence Jones, far more athletic, a little bit undersized to T-Rob, but far more athletic, could move around, get him out of position. Jeff Withey, I actually thought did very well against Anthony Davis for the most part. But yeah, you could tell the length of Davis and the athleticism of Terrence Jones was just not a great matchup for T-Rob, so he never really got going in his traditional sense he did, and defensively he struggled quite a bit getting spread out. But overall, impressive career. Really wish NBA side would have gone differently. Freaking Sacramento Kings, man, the team to kill Jayhawk dreams. At least now their franchise is, much different position, so maybe that could change. But I don't know what it was about that franchise drafting 3 players, and the first 2 didn't work out, so why draft the third? But T-Rob, I always wish he would get back in the league. I'm sure those days are probably over now. He's dominated overseas like you would expect. He's a double machine, but gonna be super exciting to see his name go up in the rafters. Well deserved. And then that kind of, maybe on another episode, we'll talk about who's next. I think we've got a lot of ideas of who's next, but, order and time, who's going to actually go up there next. Probably going to be, we'll get into that in another episode. Okay, so let's kind of talk about the border war again. KU, Missouri, rivalry renewed. They've done this for a couple years now. Since the rivalry's been back, this has not been close whatsoever. KU has absolutely dominated both games. First game, of course, we put up 100 at home. Chris Tehan hits the 3 to go over 100. The crowd goes electric. Mizzou, has to sneak out and run away. Last year, we go to their place, still dominate them, and that was a good Missouri team too. They had a pretty solid team. Kobe Brown, was a All-American caliber player, gets drafted in the first round. Very, very solid. They had a pretty decent run in the tournament. Decent for their standards. But this is I mean, I'm biased as a KU fan, but I don't care. North Carolina Duke to me does not hold up against KU Missouri because it goes beyond basketball. It goes beyond sports. These are 2 states that have hated each other for hundreds of years. 2 states that have killed and burned cities and attacked each other over this rivalry. And of course it's carried over into basketball and football and all the other aspects of KU versus Mizzou. I fully expect this to be a much better game, even though it's at home. The crowds, of course, can be electric. Everyone's going to be up for T-Rob, but I expect this Missouri team to play much better than what we've seen in the last 2 years. Dennis Gates, very good coach, I believe. I think he's, the longer he's there, the more impact he's going to have in developing their players. But there's a lot of interesting headlines in this other than just the rivalry itself. You've got DeJuan Harris, the kid from Columbia, who got overlooked by Mizzou, never got a scholarship offer, was one of the best players around the area, but never got looked at. Comes to Kansas because of his good friend Christian Brown, who's got his own ties to Missouri. And, of course, DeJuan's been fantastic for us. He's played well in this game. So there's a fun angle there. And then, of course, the Brown family there. Parker Brown, who's now a Kansas Jayhawk, was playing at Missouri. I cannot, in my head, figure out how on earth you could do both. I know it's a different generation, different age of players. The team loyalty growing up is not the same. But the Brown family has so many Missouri ties in there. But, of course, Christian came here. So you got the Parker Brown angle there, Christian Brown angle, and their family. Other smaller details people might not think about. Caleb Grill, a transfer to Mizzou, played at Iowa State. We've seen him before. He's been impressive for them. Just a lot of different directions and things to go on. Obviously, KU has dominated this series overall. But let's just kind of talk about the matchup itself. I've got a bunch of statistics and things to talk about Mizzou, but Spencer, is there anything that stands out to you that you want to address first about this Mizzou team?
Yeah, well, to your point, I think it's going to be a lot closer than it was last year. I'm not expecting a 30 or 40 piece because they got some talent on this team. Their leading scorer, Sean East, is very talented, shoots a very high percentage from the field, over 57% as a guard, which is very challenging to do. And I think he's over 60% from 3, and we're 9 games into the season. So this isn't just a hot streak that he's on. He's doing it pretty consistently. And then they got some transfers, Connor Vanover, like, I think is like 7'5" or something like that. So it's
he's right up there with Zach Edey for tallest in the nation.
Yeah, so Hunter's going to have 2 games in a row looking at a guy that's over 7 feet. So that's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, they got a lot of talent. I think it's going to be a pretty decent game. Not expecting a blowout. But I would, and I'm sure you would agree, I don't really, it's cool to blow out Missouri because, it's a pretty good feeling, but I'd rather see a good game personally. And I think that's what we're going to see this time around.
Yeah. I don't think it'll be like that Missouri game back when Sharon, I think he was a freshman, had to just go off for like 23 points in the second half or something. Back when they had, Dixon and Denman and all those guys. I don't think it's that kind of Missouri team yet. They've got some of those pieces and potential. The Connor Vanover transfer was really interesting to me. He was one I was looking at a lot coming out of Oral Roberts as a backup, even to Hunter Dickinson, just to have another big guy. He doesn't play a ton of minutes, but he's relatively effective. He can step out and shoot the three, obviously can block a ton of shots. He's just long and tall. And Hunter has struggled a little bit this season against guys his size, which of course you'd expect. Anytime you go up against somebody your same size, it's got the same frame. It's hard to get over that because you're used to going against guys smaller. So I think that matchup's going to be interesting. Missouri as a whole, though, they've been pretty effective offensively. They're averaging 75 points a game to KU's 80. They're beating opponents on average by 8 points a game. So even though they're 7-2 record, there's not a whole lot of crazy games on that schedule yet, but they've still been pretty impressive. They're actually at the top of the SEC currently right now. I know play hasn't started in the SEC, but overall pretty solid. They're a 45 to 46% field goal percentage team. They shoot about 36% from three. They're effective at getting to the line. They get about 12 free throws a game. Rebounding has been a struggle for them, though. So I think that's one area, and we've talked about that almost every game this year, is where can Kansas find an edge? And I think rebounding is one that we got to figure out because that's been a struggle. And against a team that doesn't rebound well, I hope this is a game where we see that kind of pick up. Missouri likes to play fast. They like to run up and down the court. They run a 4-guard lineup. They like to go small. They'll even play Noah Carter at the 5, and he's about 6'6". But they'll run up and down the court, which I think actually plays to our advantage, being in Allen Fieldhouse with the crowd. DeJuan's ball handling ability, DeJuan's on-ball defense, and now Marco's speed. I think that'll actually play into our favor. But flip side, defensively, they like to slow teams down and play kind of a frustrating defense, which of course, is no shock to Kansas. We see that. I think it's going to be a very physical game. It definitely obviously helps we're at home. You're probably going to get a little bit of favorable whistles. I know that's not going to excite Missouri fans at all, but what do you want? We're the number 2 team in the country. We've been the most consistent program for the last 30 years. That's just what you get. But let's kind of go through that lineup here. Just like you were saying, Sean East, very, very effective. Almost 17 points a game. He's shooting 62% from 3 on multiple attempts. So he's finding his shot. He's going after it, getting his shot up. Like you said, 58% from the floor as a whole. That's incredible for a guard. Usually you see the high 50s for big men that are just getting dumped down looks. So he's scoring efficiently. They've got a pretty well-balanced team. They play, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 9, 10 deep. So they actually get guys quite a bit of minutes and spread the ball around. They got 3 guys in double figures. I think Caleb Grill's right there at about 8 points a game. Caleb Grill, this to me has classic opportunity for him to shoot 6 threes and go 4 for 6. This is just kind of classic KU game there. The guy that can shoot threes. So we've seen a lot of him in Iowa State. But I think a lot of this, to me, Kansas should have the advantage at multiple positions. I think KJ's physicality is going to be a big X factor in this game. With Missouri's slightly undersized lineup that they go with, I think Bill Self's going to look to utilize KJ quite a bit in the paint, get Hunter to spread the ball out. So maybe Hunter's playing more on the high posts and getting KJ some looks down low. Hunter, when Connor Vanover's not in there, should dominate. And I think that's exciting. I remember back, I think it was the beginning of the season, when Hunter was getting interviewed and just talking about coming to Kansas and all that. He was really excited for a lot of these games. And as a guy that has no connection really to the Big 12, anything KU or Mizzou specifically, when you've got a transfer coming in that understands the significance of a rivalry game like this and is ready to play at the biggest stage and deliver, and he sees how important it is to have that kind of impact on the game, I think that's exciting, because he has no reason to care at all about this rivalry. There's 2 or 3 guys on this roster that should really care. And of course, DeJuan is going to care tremendously because he was overlooked. Parker Brown, I don't know what his care level necessarily is. It's just intriguing that he's been on both sides now. But Hunter Dickinson, I think he's going to have a fantastic game. This is another 20-10 night. KJ is going to be super effective. Kevin McCullough, I know, Spencer, we talked about this on our last recap episode. Kevin McCullough's playing like an All-American. He's playing like a potential player of the year. He just finds so many ways to have an impact on the game. And I think his defensive ability, I just feel like him and DeJuan Harris and KJ are going to bring an intensity level so high that it's just gonna frustrate the guards of Missouri. So I'm looking for all three of those guys to have a big game. But as you kind of look at this matchup, what are some keys for you as far as KU's ability to do what they do and win this game? Or what are the things we need to do to either slow down Missouri or keep some distance throughout the game?
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely agree with what you said regarding Dickinson. Dickinson should dominate the game when Vanover's not in. If there's a lack of size, I think we start attacking that right away. Not just with Dickinson. I think KJ should have a pretty strong game as well. So we're probably going to play through the bigs a decent amount. I wouldn't be surprised if Self takes a couple different players on East, because outside of East, nobody in their starting lineup shoots over 50%. So there's not really a lot of spread out offense. And I mean, Caleb Grill's actually struggled a lot to start the season off. He's shooting below 30% from the three.
He's
now,
forced a lot of shots.
To your point, we are the team that he would find his rhythm against. So I don't want to just completely count that out. So, and then, us on the defensive end, again, we have Harris, we have McCullough that are playing outstanding individual defense. So I think we just need to slow them down, not allow them to get into transition, because from a lack of size, that's going to really hurt them in a half court offense. So I think we can keep them to a relatively slow pace. That's going to work really well in our advantage. And then the thing that I also want us to be careful of is keeping turnovers down. So, Mizzou as a team, they force a little bit over 9 steals a game. So we can't play too fast ourselves. We can't make, poor passes, especially if we're going to be dumping into the post. They're probably going to trap right away. So making the right reads out of those double teams is going to be really important. But overall, I think on paper, at the very least, we match up against Mizzou pretty well. So I think we should be able to find an offensive game plan that works.
Yeah. The couple of things that I see that kind of stand out to me as potential areas of frustration. If DeJuan is going to be on their top guy most of the night, which is probably what we expect on East. The guy I see that could have a big impact in this game is their other starting guard, Nick Honor, the senior. A little bit smaller guard, but he's probably going to be matched up against Del Marco as a freshman, so senior on freshman. So you would think advantage to the senior there. So I think he's a guy to look out for. Bill Self is a switching team, so they're going to rotate around unless one guy's just absolutely killing them. But I think El Marco and Nick Timberlake and even Johnny Furphy need to showcase their ability to use their athleticism to help defend. Or this might become a game where we see some more Jamari McDowell playing some perimeter defense. But I think Honor is a guy that you could keep an eye on to have an impact in this game. Turnovers, just like you said, that's the other area. I mean, Missouri forces about 9 steals a game, about 6.7 blocks a game. So they're pretty active on the defensive end. We've seen KU struggle at times this year to hold on to the ball and make the right passes and force things to Hunter, or maybe Hunter gets double teamed and guys don't move to the right spot to get open. So I think that could be a big impact as well. KU's got to be able to slow down the turnover game. There we go. Slow down on turnovers, be efficient, passing the ball, find the open lanes. Try not to force things too much, because Missouri wants to get you into these turnover battles so they can run down the other side and keep you in a race. I don't have a whole lot else I want to add on this game, because as a KU fan, I have not extensively watched Missouri. Because why would I? I know for this matchup, I dove into a couple of their matchups, but right now I don't have any clear predictions as far as score, spreads, anything like that. It's kind of bounced around here and there. There's nothing like super official out there at this time of recording, but I think it's gonna be a fantastic game. The crowd's gonna be electric. Coming into Allen Fieldhouse before conference play in the middle of December during finals week, where the students this is the only thing they care about. They're going to be focused. They're going to be super energetic. This is going to be a tough environment for them. And as I was looking at Missouri's schedule, I'd say they've only had two road games two true road games so far, at Minnesota and at Pittsburgh. So this is going to be for most of the guys on that roster so far the toughest environment they'll ever come to early in the season. So I think that's going to factor in. But Dennis Gates is a good coach. I think he'll have Mizzou ready. They'll have plenty of their own energy on their side to get riled up for this game. Any predictions you want to throw out there about this game, stat lines, anything?
Yeah, I'm predicting somewhere I'd say like 75 to 68 range. I think it's not going to be a super high scoring game. And I don't think the margin of victory is going to be, like we said before, 20, 30 points. But I also think KU keeps this one at a relatively decent margin. I don't see the lead getting below 7-8 most of the game. At least it shouldn't. So yeah, I do think it's going to be a stressful game because, to me, if we're not up 20, I'm going to be kind of nervous in a game like this. But overall, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't come out of this with a W.
Yeah, I might post some things later as I look at different spreads and stuff that come out and player props. I think I wouldn't say it's safe to say because you know how DeJuan likes to pick and choose his spots, but maybe DeJuan having a bigger offensive game is potential here, or he just solely focuses on I'm just shutting down East and showing Mizzou why they're so stupid for letting me get out of the state. But it should be a great game. After Mizzou game, of course, then KU gets the week off to finish finals week for the students, and then they head to Indiana next week for that game. Indiana hasn't had the great start that they were hoping, but they're still a tough team and one of the best environments in college basketball as well. So KU's got really, really tough non-con schedule. I love this. It's not your typical maybe 10 years ago KU non-con schedule where you're used to just KU going 13, 14-0 non-con and then rolling into Big 12 play. They've got one of the toughest schedules in college basketball, and I love it. I love seeing these matchups. We're going against guys that have big-time playability, teams that you're going to see deep into the NCAA tournament, and I think that just makes us better. So going to be a great game. I think as of now I will be at the game. That is my hope. I haven't gotten my ticket yet, but I believe I will be there. So I'm going to, they're pretty pricey right now, not going to lie. So if anybody wants to hook me up with some tickets, it'd be great. But no, I plan on going with a buddy, see what other content I can snatch from there. But yeah, for KU, Mizzou, even if you're a Mizzou fan, and I'm sure some of you guys might stumble across this later, my family's all from Missouri, so I respect, but I don't like the Missouri fan base because I have family that's all Missouri fans. But yeah, feel free to let us know what you guys think in the comment section here on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, you can hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at KCSA Pod. Share your expectations of the game with us, any of your predictions, maybe some of your favorite KU Mizzou moments over the years. If you guys want to talk a little bit of T-Rob with us, you can do that too. He's one of my favorite players just because I think he just had a tremendous season. He was so much fun to watch. So if you guys want to throw out any of your favorite moments, I'm sure we're going to be seeing that video, reshared a billion times today and tomorrow on T-Rob's block and Bill Self's fist in the air excitement. But yeah, thanks guys for joining us again. If you're a first time listener, watcher, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you guys come back for future episodes. And the best way to know when future episodes happen is to hit that subscribe button right there on the screen. Like we said, we're on our way to 250. We're really close. So maybe today and tomorrow, you guys can help us get over that 250 hump as we get to our next big goals. A lot of fun stuff coming down the road for KU fans. Of course, we've got bowl season coming up. So we'll have a fun breakdown of KU's bowl matchup and preview. I've got a guest I'm hoping to get on for that has some close ties to the team to talk a little bit about that and some of the off season and stuff like that. Chiefs football, it's been frustrating last couple of weeks, but we still are in prime position to run through the rest of the AFC. Big time matchup this weekend against the Bills. Royals off season is starting to pick up. We should get some things here coming soon. So a lot of great stuff coming up. I know Spencer and I have said we were going to talk NBA and we just haven't done it yet. We will. I promise we'll get some of that for the 4 or 5 of you that probably care about NBA stuff. We're still going to talk it because we love to talk NBA. So I hope you guys tune into some of that stuff and come back for future episodes. So share the podcast with your friends, like, subscribe, comment, rate us, give us a 5-star review, all that. Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at KCSA Pod, and we will catch you guys in the next episode. So as always, rock chalk.
Rock chalk.